Hey guys, it's Dr. Bickling from Own It Dental. As always, here's my contact information if you need to get a hold of me. And if you guys are enjoying these videos, please do hit that like button, that little thumbs up button. It's right down below, it's right here or something. It only takes you a second and it helps me grow this channel. Speaking of growing, if you're not growing, you're dying. We've all heard this saying before, but it might be a little bit more dire than you think. So let's dig into it. All right, so we've all heard the saying, if you're not growing, you're dying. You know, we've probably all used it before. But in my opinion, I think most people don't realize just how severe of a consequence this is. You know, a lot of doctors, when they come see me, you know, their charts look a lot like this when they come find me. You know, for the last 2, 3, 5, 10, 20 years, you know, they've been producing about the same amount. Field hygienes have been about the same. They haven't been growing. And they say, Dr. Bickling, help me get to the next level. So of course I do. I help them get to the next level, and guess what? They plateau there, and they just start sticking at that level for the next 2 to 3 years. And eventually, you know, no matter how much I help doctors and how much they get to the next level and the next level, eventually they hit a plateau, and they just keep staying at that point, you know, indefinitely. There's a saying in business, and I've used this in a video a couple weeks ago, that, you know, businesses will only grow until the pain of growth outweighs the benefits. You know, it seems like this is never-ending battle of growth, you know, and when does it end? You know, when can I just, you know, get to a certain point and be happy with it, you know? And sometimes that's the case for doctors. They plateau because they've just gotten comfortable. They've gotten to a point where, you know, they have a nice house, they have nice cars, you know, take some nice vacations, and they're just happy with where they are, and they don't really want to put in any extra work. And I certainly think that's wonderful. I think that you should get to a point where you have nice things and you take nice vacations and you're not overly stressed. I also think that as your business grows, it actually should become easier for you. You should be offloading things, not taking on more things. You should be getting things off your back, only the things that you really need to do. So, you know, this whole upward growth thing seems to be very stressful, but if you're doing it properly, it actually should get easier as time goes on. But the problem is that, you know, there's no such thing as staying the same for these doctors who want to just like, I've gotten to a level I'm comfortable with, and I'm just going to stay here, ride this out the rest of my career. You know, but there's no such thing as staying the same. I've often talked about entropy, the second law of thermodynamics. Here's the technical definition here, but the practical definition is anything left to the random forces of nature will tend towards disorder. You know, if you're in shape now, but you stop working out, eventually you're going to be out of shape. You know, you're going to tend towards disorder. If you're smart and you stop studying, eventually you're going to forget things and you're going to get dumber. If your house is clean and you stop cleaning it, eventually it's going to get dirtier. You know, if you take a warm bowl of soup and you put it on the counter and you leave it alone, eventually it's get cooler and become room temperature. Same thing with an ice cube. You put it on a counter, it's going to go from cold to room temperature. Anything left to the random forces of nature will tend towards disorder. And the same thing is true in our business. But so what does it look like in business? Well, in business, we're also not only fighting entropy, but we're also fighting another thing called inflation. As time goes on, things become more and more expensive. And over the last 2 years, you guys know what that's like, right? So, you know, we have this saying, you know, if you're not growing, you're dying. You know, if a business is looking like this 2, 3, 4, 5 years in a row, what does that look like down the road? Well, that's what today's video is all about, and I'm going to show you. So let's take this fictional business. Where's my pointer here? There it is. Let's take this fictional business, and let's say it's doing $200,000 a month in revenue, right? And they have a 15% EBITDA, or 15% profit. And so their expenses are $170,000 a month. Now let's use the assumption that the owner doctor is not seeing patients, and that's where that 15% comes from. But of course, if you're seeing patients, then you would have additional income on top of that. You'd pay yourself like an associate. But let's just say that, you know, here's your business. You're doing $200,000 a month. You've got $170,000 in expenses and a 15% profit. At a 3% inflation rate annually, or 0.0025% monthly, this is what the expenses are going to look like over time if your revenue stays the same. And you can see in just about 5 years' time, and that's only at 3% inflation, which I think we'd all agree right now is pretty conservative. Basically, your expenses are going to be just about the same as your revenue in just as little as 5 years. Matter of fact, it's 5.5 years is when your revenues or your expenses start to exceed your revenue. So if you have a time horizon over 5.5 years in your career, you may need to start rethinking this plateauing thing, staying the same, because your office stops becoming profitable a lot sooner than you think it does. Let's see what it looks like 10 years. This is 10 years out, and this is 20 years out. If you see here, the expenses are 50% higher than your revenues. So there's a lot of dentists out there that, have 20, 30, 40 year long careers, and they just make the same amount of money, every year after year after year after year, but their expenses aren't staying the same. And this is why you see those dental offices for sale for $250,000, $300,000. 30 years ago, that was a lot of money, but today it's not. I just did a little research. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player that ever lived, 12 out of the 14 years that he played basketball, he never made more than $4 million a year. And right now, the best players make 10 to 12 times that, So just because it was a lot of money 20, 30 years ago doesn't mean it's a lot of money now. So if we do the inverse of that, just to give you an idea of what it looks like, if I take that $200,000 and I decrease its purchasing power by 3% annually, in 30 years, that's an $80,000 a month office. This is a pretty good, $2.5 million office, but in 30 years, that's only $1 million office. So basically, you're watching the value of your office erode over time, or the purchasing power erode over time. Not to mention, it starts to become unprofitable at about year 5. Somewhere around here is where it starts to become unprofitable. That expenses relative to inflation, crosses over right about here. So from about here on, you're losing money, or your take-home pay starts to become lower and lower and lower as time goes on. And this is why you see those practices for sale for, like I said, $250,000, $300,000, in the articles there. So anyway, like I said, if your time horizon is over 5.5 years, we've got to get you to the next level. You've got to keep opening up that availability, adding more spaces for your hygiene, bring on more hygienists, bring on more doctors, continue to expand your hours, both evenings and weekends. Open up 7 days a week if you have to. We just got to find a way, because where this crosses over, where you start to actually lose money in your business, comes a lot sooner than you think it does. So in any case, I hope this was informative, and I hope it opened your eyes to just how serious this is. If you're not growing, you're dying, and that death comes a lot sooner than you think it does. So in any case, I'm Dr. Bickling. Here's my contact information. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like it, go to ownitdental.com or click the link above and check out my services. I have dozens of hours of training videos, and I've negotiated reduced lab fees for all my clients. So if you want to get out of the dental chair and start owning your business, go to ownitdental.com and check out my services, and I'll see you soon.